Welcome to our podcast. I'm Cody,
And I'm Sarah.
and this is Cody and Sarah Talk. So, thanks for joining us. So, tonight, we have a topic that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a project that we've been working on for going on 2 years now. Kind of on and off a book that we are writing together that is really centered around uh, marriage and God and love and children and finances and all those, everything that makes up a life together as a married couple. So I haven't really written much. I went about 9-10 months without writing, and then just started back. I had writer's block, and then started back recently, and it's starting to really take shape again. And we are, I think, deciding instead of right now publishing the whole book, we're going to drop chapters into our newsletter and website, and discuss chapters.
The theme of each chapter.
Yes.
So let me ask you, Cody, why you decided you wanted to write a book, because you've been married more than once, right?
I have not. Yes, I've been married. This is my third marriage.
All right, so we're being really vulnerable and authentic. So go ahead, and it is what it is. But there's value, because neither one of us have only been married once. There's a lot of value if you have. So good for you. That's amazing.
Yes.
But we have a different perspective, so we can offer you that different perspective, right? So why this marriage? Why did you decide to write a book, this marriage? Because it was really you who wanted to do it. Like, how did that happen? You just said, like, one day riding on the road. Is that right?
Yeah. We had kind of. I knew we were doing things differently than I had ever done before in our courtship. First off, we live 2.5 miles away from each other, and that in itself was unique, because we couldn't see each other every day and meet for coffee and sleep over at each other's houses. And so it was already different, and I felt differently about her than I never felt about another woman. The closeness, the vulnerability, and we were taking time each morning to connect. First thing, that's the ice maker. First thing in the morning, she'd have coffee at her place, I have coffee at my place, and we would talk, and then we would read the Bible, and we would pray, and there's the Bible app. We were doing this marriage talks, and so it was almost like pre-marriage counseling about talking about finances and your relationship with each other, your relationship with God, your relationship with your children, how you co-parent, how you blend families, all these different topics that were just like, wow, we're doing all this stuff, but we're doing the work before we actually, get married, seal the deal, and make sure that, and even though we knew we wanted to get married, we still were doing all these things, because it doesn't matter, right, how much you love each other. You can get into financial difficulties because you view money differently, or you don't agree on how to co-parent, or you don't have the same religious beliefs, or some of those things just get overlooked because you're having so much sex, and you're just like, ooh, this is amazing, and it's whatever it is, whatever the situation may be. And we were doing all this stuff, and we were having these really meaningful conversations, and I felt like we might have like cracked the code, so to speak, on some of this stuff that we had not done perfectly, or not even done at all prior to meeting each other in our previous marriages. So I was sitting in the light one day, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, we have all this information, all this like knowledge, and we should write a book, and maybe it could help some people, because it's like, essentially it's helping us.
What are the stats? It's like over half of the population in the United States has been divorced at this point. Even people that are like in church and they supposedly don't want to get divorced, I think the stats are even worse for
I think
them.
it might be closer to 60%,
Yeah.
but
So it's like so many people are getting divorced. This is not uncommon. This is not my first marriage either, and I have had some tough experiences, but I am better and I've taken from those experiences and it hasn't killed me, right? So it made me stronger. And anyway, I wanted to roll back. You said something about sex, parenting, religion, and finances. Those are all 4 chapters in the book, I believe, but we couldn't have sex because we lived in 2 different cities. And being in our 40s and having been married before, it's not just, like you're in your 20s and, you're going out and partying. It's not that. It's just you've had sex. So it is something that is natural. And the fact that we couldn't, I think, was very helpful for us to bond first, emotionally, um, spiritually, and like a cognitively way. Like we were using our mind, we were using our emotions, and we were spiritually connecting on a daily basis, and we were not physically connecting. So, oxytocin is a hormone that is released when you have sex. And it's a bonding hormone. It's also a hormone that's released when a mother nurses her baby. I nursed both of my babies, so I know how that feels. And if you didn't, it's okay.
I did too.
Anyway, it is a bonding hormone, and I think I was grateful that we didn't have the complication of sex because it could make you believe that you're in love when you're not. It can make you believe the other person is absolutely wonderful. Rose-colored glasses. That person is so wonderful, and maybe that's what happened in our past. I'm not sure, but I do know that in my relationship with you, not being in the same city was very helpful. So I think long distance relationships are awesome. I mean, I miss you now. I wish we lived together 100% of the time, but we're together a lot. So
Yeah.
at least there's that. So that's sex. You got anything else to offer on?
On sex?
Well, that would be a whole show, I think. But I'm saying the
Yeah.
fact that there was a lack of physical intimacy, I think is very helpful.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, it was, there were, when you're stimulated, you're like spiritually and emotionally by somebody else that you don't know, but you're getting to know, and you're like, wow, man, it's like I wanted to know more and more about her, and that was the focus rather than like, oh, 2 weeks in we meet each other and we're at her place, or my place, and we're just having sex all the time because we just can't get enough of each other, and then you figure out all this stuff later on, and you're like, oh, well, I didn't know that, like it's kind of.
So many people experience that, right? So, not everyone. There are many people who don't. And if you're not one of those people, that's awesome. But so much of the world does it like that. So it was just very fortunate. I felt very, very fortunate that we were not even able to experience that, even if we wanted to. We didn't want to, but um, I think that was the biggest thing in our relationship that was different. And I did tell you, I think the first time you talked to me or the second time we talked on the telephone, I said, so my sister tells me that I'm supposed to tell you that we're not going to have sex because I'm a Christian. Do I really have to do that? Like, is that a thing? Apparently. And he was like, what? He's like, so when are we going to have sex? And I was like, I don't know. Maybe, like. And he was like, when we get married? I was like, yeah. And this was like the first time we talked on the telephone. So we've been texting for maybe about 2 months.
Yeah.
And I was like, if he's scared off, he's scared off. I don't even care. I was done. I had written off men anyway, so.
I wasn't scared. I knew.
You didn't get scared, yeah.
I knew I wanted to marry her, um, you know, pretty early on, and I had to go. Okay, are you sure? Like, this marriage number 3. Are you sure you want to, get into this? Is marriage really the right thing to do? maybe it's not. Maybe people that don't get married, and they, I know a handful of couples that never got married. They've been together for 30 years, but um, was that is that going to be a problem? But I knew that to respect our union, that was it was important to Sarah, and it was important to me that we got married.
And we did. I got a promise ring. Was it our first date?
First,
maybe the second time
first
we
or
met
second.
each other. It might have been the first date.
But remember, we were communicating for a few months before we met, so it wasn't like our first date wasn't like our first date. It was actually our first like outing together.
I think we were in love
Really, we were in love
via text.
absolutely,
Honestly.
without a doubt.
We were texting all day, every day, and
Yeah,
talking on the phone just a little bit.
I think maybe our job suffered a little bit during that period because we were so mine did. No, mine did a little bit for sure. But you know, but then once we did finally have sex, it was um, amazing.
Yes, and it should be.
Yeah,
It should be.
that's not a bad thing. This isn't a kids show, okay? But um,
Actually, maybe we should just stick with that.
yeah,
Because I was going to talk about all the other points. They could be other chapters, but honestly, quite honestly, it is. I mean, as a man, I think men, from what I understand, they know they're loved when their wife is intimate with them.
yeah.
That's how they know that they're loved.
Men need physical touch, attention, intimacy, and it's the way that's how men do connect with their wives.
Are you well aware of how women connect? We have to
Y'all need what?
be connected first.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's why sometimes there's a um, what do you call it?
I mean, there's an impasse. There's like a wall.
Yes.
So I need to be connected before we're intimate, but you need to be intimate to feel connected.
Yeah.
It's very complex. So what it means is like both of us have to release any pride and any like excuse me, if we're holding on to anything, if we're angry about anything, like I mean, we fight, so like we have to let it go. And I think that's humility, right? It's just not winning, not necessarily winning. But if it's all you giving in, then that's toxic. That's out of balance. If it's all me giving in,
Yeah.
that's very toxic and out of balance. And it could be abusive if you're always giving in. So it has to be mutual. I mean, it's not always 50-50, but it might be 60-40 and then 70-30 and then 80-20 and then back to 50-50. It just depends on, it can't be perfect all the time, but as long as it's close, I think that it works.
Yeah, because sometimes you say, I'm not really there. I want to be there, but I'm not. And then you say, well, all right, let's just go, let's do it. And then you get there, and then it can be a time of reconnecting, and then you might have some pillow talk where you're like, baby, I'm sorry. I was I shouldn't have done what I did, and I'm really sorry. And then there's forgiveness and vulnerability, and then you're back to where you need to be, and in hopes for a longer period of time. Mm-hmm. There's not any sort of discontent or miscommunications, which happen a lot in marriages because we're you know you're female, I'm male. We think differently. We process information and emotions differently. So yes, you're gonna have miscommunications, and we have them all the time. Um, I don't want this to ever come off like we know everything. We have it all figured out. We don't.
No.
That's the whole point of the book. It's been cathartic for us and mutually beneficial to work through these things and say this is what's working for us, and these are things that we're still implementing on a daily basis. You don't ever get to a point where it's just perfect and rosy and you never have miscommunications, you never have, but how you deal with those when they come up, right? And
It
how
is.
you get past them.
So I would say in my first marriage, my second marriage, like it didn't, because I've been married more than once. You know, because I didn't handle things the same way that I handle them now. Um, I think I've taken more of a biblical perspective on my life. I went 2.5 years. I was still married. We were just separated. And I was not planning to ever, you know, I didn't care. I was definitely done. I just wanted to be done with things in my past and move forward. And then I met Cody and I had to deal with some things in my past. But for 2.5 years, it was just me and my girls, just me and my daughters, and I just learned a lot. I learned a lot. I read all the time. I consumed information, and especially in the Bible, the different, just so much information. And I think I realized that maybe if I do it, let me just try it this way. I don't know, something new. We'll just try it. And he's my covering, and he's absolutely the leader of the household. Sometimes I don't agree with him, and I have to bite my tongue. And sometimes I'm not successful, and I bite back. He doesn't bite. He doesn't bite anybody in the family, but sometimes I might not agree with his leadership, and sometimes I'll fall short, and I'll try to take over. But most of the time, I think I've made a pretty intentional decision to let Cody lead. And it works out so much better. I don't want to be the leader. I tried. I had to be a leader with my daughters, and it was a single mom, and it was just too hard. I'm not made for that. I mean, you do what you do. You do what you have to do when you are in that situation, certainly. And I think my kids are well adjusted and happy. But I am very grateful for your leadership and your encouragement and your provision and your love.
Thank you.
And I think I'm different. And that I recognize those things and I'm not in competition with my partner. I'm not trying to beat you. I'm not trying to be the leader. I'm not trying to run the show and manipulate everything. I said I fail sometimes, but for the most part, I try.
Yeah, you do, and that's the key. Is like, there's so many partners out there that try to compete with each other, and there are roles for a reason. And like think about businesses and organizations that they have leadership roles, and there's a pecking order, so to speak. But you can't have two bosses running the same company, right? But you can have somebody that's in charge that includes everybody and says
It's a good leader.
is a good leader. It empowers people and says, yeah, okay, I'm ultimately going to make the final decision, but let's talk about it because I'm not always right. I'm not always going to make the right decisions, and I come to Sarah for advice and counsel and say, hey, what do you think about this? Like this is a big deal. Can we talk about this? Whether it's with real estate or financial stuff or travel. Um, we have with teenagers. So there's stuff that comes up and we have to work through it and I might have an opinion on it, but I'm not a girl, so my perspective is different. So I'm gonna lean more towards her and say, well, you you know, let's talk it out, but I trust your decision.
Right.
And what you are going to decide, I will support you 100%. So it's not just one sided in that way. And the support that you give me and things that I want to do, and business wise, you're very supportive and encouraging. So
It's very interesting you brought that up. And then maybe we can wrap up since it's been about 20 minutes. But I wanted to say that the proof is in the pudding. So if Cody was not a good businessman, if he did not make good financial decisions, then I may probably second guess you more, and I may give you more pushback. But you have proven, oh my goodness, over and over and over again in the time that we've been together. So if I don't see what you see, I kind of think you're pretty creative, and you've shown me that you make good decisions. So why not just trust you? And I do, like, really, I really, really do. Um, I mean, I pray about it, obviously. So, but if I have a very uneasy feeling about something, I'll let you know. But other than that, I'm good with it, and it's truly good. It's like that book Let Them by Mel Robbins.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like that. You're not doing anything wrong. You know, you're not doing anything malicious, but you are. If I don't agree with it, it's like just let him, and then you give up. You just don't give up and like fight it. Just literally, he's already proven he's good at it. He's already proven he's capable. He's an excellent leader. He's good with finances. Just allow him to be who he is and who God created him to be. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy once you make the decision.
And
you
then
have to give in.
And then half the time I'm like, I'll work through whatever it is and be like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But if she were, not supporting me, if she was like trying to, tear me down, yeah, I would be more likely to probably push through and try to prove something. And I don't have anything to prove. Just trying to make decisions for our family financially and for our future. So, thank you.
So, thank you. Thank you for being such a good leader. So, what are some takeaways? I think it's important if you are on a second or subsequent marriage from your first marriage. I think it's important to try long distance relationships, or at least allowing yourself to know the other person and fall in love before you have, premature sex and release the oxytocin and create a bond that is just physical and hormonal. Instead, get to know the person and love their soul, their mind, and their emotions and their passions, and figure that out. I think that was not something that we did intentionally. I think it was just the case where we lived. So that's one takeaway. The second takeaway is, men need to be intimate with their wife to feel loved. I really believe that. And women need to feel connected and loved to be intimate. So it's a constant balancing act. And in order to really balance that, both of us have to have humility and just stop, maybe not win every single argument, figure that out as we go.
Yeah.
And then the third thing was he's the leader, and I like it. I'm not saying that's for everybody, but I really, really like it. I really, really like it. In fact, it makes me feel loved when he's a leader. And then I think it probably doesn't make you feel loved. Nah, I want you to lead.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I'm not like a king sitting on a throne, I cook and clean.
Oh, he's a chef.
I do.
Cooks everything.
I do.
Everything.
I serve my family. I serve,
serves.
and she serves me.
Yeah, you do serve.
Yeah, we both serve.
Yeah.
So that's another chapter in the book, and we'll talk about that because that leads into like, maybe that's the next episode potentially.
Yeah.
But
you're not a tyrant in any way.
No.
It's you don't take respect because you demand it. I think you are, for the most part, not all the time, because you're not perfect, but I think you take the respect you offer. So I think that might be another thing. Just checking it out. Just checking out that model. Anyway, it's pretty controversial, but I'm gonna tell you what, it works. And what would you say about our intimate life? I mean, that model of you leading and being my covering, leader. I mean, our intimate life is pretty.
It's pretty spectacular. Yeah.
So, try it.
Yeah, serve each other in every possible way you can, and the bedroom it'll take care of itself.
Yeah.
It will. So
it will.
Yeah.
All right. Let us know. Let us know what your thoughts are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Have a great night. Adios.